Hey.
Hey there.
Hey, I'm Ryan, he/him.
My name's Piper. My pronouns are she, her.
My name's Kimberly Marina, she, her.
I'm
Kirsty. My pronouns are she and they.
We're talking over each other. So, let's take turns just this once. 1, 2, 3. I'm
I'm
Jodie.
Kirsty. My pronouns are she and they.
1, 2, 3. Jodie.
Piper.
Ryan.
Kimberly Marina.
Callum.
Andre.
Kirsty.
This is a play.
Kind of.
Also not a play.
Let's not worry about what this kind of thing's called.
Well, we might have started to call it this thing we get to do when we get together.
Whatever we've started to call together.
This is where some of us watch and listen.
And some of us speak and listen.
Whatever we're calling this right now.
This is one of those.
It's meant to take place wherever it takes place.
It's meant to take place here, which could mean you're wherever you are.
And everyone else is wherever they are. Joining together our here's to make a single here, bolting them edge to edge on a screen like self-assembly plastic storage boxes for human heads.
And if that's true, let's tell you about our own worlds outside of these self-assembly plastic storage box for human heads.
I'm in my office in Glasgow and it's essentially clean.
I'm in my room in Newton Stewart and it's raining.
I'm in my room in Dumfries and it's, a bit of a mess.
I'm in my bedroom in Patrick Durham and it's comparatively quite tidy.
I'm in Colmanel and it's tiny.
I'm in my bedroom in Ayr and it's a bit dusty.
I used to be in Ayr. It was dusty. It was also dreary. But now I'm in Irvine and it's dull.
So maybe, even just maybe, imagine that we're all in the same big box, all in the same air.
I can look at you in your actual eye, your human, glistening, sticky to the touch, see it and blink it, human eye.
Yeah, imagine that.
If that's not what we're doing, if we're still at the heads in boxes stage.
Imagine us all in that space, how it's going to feel when it finally happens. Because it will happen.
If it has happened, if we're all together in a room with air and eyes and all the sounds, the small sounds of bodies that microphones don't notice and speakers don't transmit.
Take a moment to think back to the time, that lost age of months or weeks or even just days ago when we couldn't do this.
When our bodies were quiet, or at least made noises only we could hear.
When maybe the only clue to our actual existence, our real world existence, was when we froze or glitched.
Or had to leave and return while we stayed in the exact same place. Weird, isn't it?
However you're doing now, however way we're doing this now.
And so quickly become the only way to do it. The only way that we've ever done it.
I guarantee you,
even though some things might be different, the distance between us if we're in the same room,
the tension in the room that was never there before,
or the lack of different broadband speeds,
the colour and the closeness of the walls around us.
We still find it hard to imagine that we used to do this any other way, or that the way we're doing it will ever change.
Anyway,
This play,
This thing.
This poem,
What we're calling what's happening doesn't matter. It has a name.
and the name of it is Hold
Hold
Out
out your hand. That's what was printed at the top of the document they gave us. It was in bold to seem important.
Yeah, bold to say this was the title.
We're not so into that. Hold out your hand. We're not into it.
I mean, we get it. We're not. We're not stupid. We get that someone thought it sounded hopeful about connection and contact.
But it's a bit thin, isn't it? A bit on the bland side.
A bit full of the kind of empty optimism that's just meant to get us through this.
Like something you'd say to a child crossing the road and maybe walking down unfamiliar streets to a funeral or something.
it feels kind but unfocused, almost as if it was a compromise.
Like the guy thought, I want to make something about getting through this, but just that. Not about doing, but about being there, about reassurance and how everything is going to be okay.
how if we are just here for each other, everything is going to be okay. So hold out your hand, he thought, that'll do. Except it won't.
It could have been, and this is no disrespect, honestly, mate. We're saying these words, aren't we? No disrespect, but it could have been a better title.
Yeah.
What about The Forgotten Months?
Or Head in a Box.
Or this street has never been so silent.
Or Horrors of the Misty Maze of a Never-Ending Yesterday?
Or 3 more weeks.
Or the great literal shortage of 2020.
Terrible times of 2020-21.
Or we're all stuck on Wi-Fi now, and we just hope that it works.
Or the new normal.
Or I haven't spoken to another human person in real life for 5 months.
Something that says clearly what's happened and the many shades of feelings from relief to joy to deepest sorrow to total fury is possible to feel about it.
And whoever wrote this, for example, I mean, I'm sure it's a man, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a man.
He probably did his best.
There's no way he can really get into our heads. There's a lot he doesn't know.
A lot he doesn't want to guess.
A lot he thinks, but he knows is wrong.
And the rest of it, this man he's making up. He wouldn't know. How could he? He wouldn't know that the lowest point of this year for me was being financially unstable because I didn't get furloughed. And the highest point for me was that I actually got time off to enjoy the beautiful summer that we had.
I mean, the best point for me was being able to have my graduation ceremony in my garden with my mum and my dad and my sister and my dog.
The worst moment for me, realising who my true friends are.
Best moment for me was being able to make art on Zoom with all of my friends, because otherwise I'd be alone shielding.
The worst moment for me was being stuck in the house, not knowing when we could get back out.
The best moment for me was when I finally got to give my friends a big hug.
Or that the worst moment for me was knowing not I nor a single soul could attend my grandfather's funeral. I mean, how could he know that? Anyway, here we are.
Probably when this is happening, when we're saying this, when you're hearing this, we're still all a bit spooked.
Still a bit scared of touching each other.
Most of us have learned to move through our own lives like ghosts, as the world changed around us in ways it never has before.
Ways that we have to find the words to describe.
It was like the door slamming shut behind you and realising you're not locked out, you're locked in.
No, that's not it. It was like a montage in a film, except instead of moving the story on, it just repeated the same few frames over and over.
No, that's not it either. It was like waiting for a bus, except the timetable was blank and all the numbers on the board kept changing.
No, it was like being in prison and not being able to get out.
It was like when the theatres opened and the curtains opened for the first time, but then the curtains just shut again, and that
No,
was
it was
the
like-
end of the show.
Going to the pub and there being nothing there to drink.
It was like one very long Sunday. That's what it was like. Maybe it still is.
So, anyone else been having really weird dreams?
Don't worry, we're not going to tell you about our dreams.
Except, I had this really weird dream.
I literally just said,
We literally just said this wasn't going to happen.
Just one, let me tell you just one.
okay,
So I had this dream where there was like this spaceship and this UFO came to take us up. So like he was beaming down from space. And then like I came up into like the carriageway. I got to sit down and it was kind of like a curly whirly, the way that we just like went round. And like it was kind of like a theme park in that kind of a way.
He's talking about his dreams then. Get a load of this. I was riding this time-travelling caterpillar called Gunta. And we went to ancient Egypt. It was awesome.
I had this dream where I was sitting in a pool abroad with the sun beating down on me, drinking a cocktail.
Look, I know this guy's no good at titles, but maybe, just maybe, he can give us a shared dream to tell you. Maybe we can trust him that much to give us one useful dream to help.
Worth a try.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this dream where,
I was walking outside, but it wasn't my outside.
as in not what I'd see if I went out the door. It was an outside that differed in certain very important respects from anywhere I'd normally find myself.
It was huge, for one thing, not streets or houses. The sky wasn't just a ribbon stretched out over a road glimpsed between artificial horizons made by buildings closing in on either side.
It was bigger even than landscapes without buildings.
Wider than moorland, more distant than the glimpse you get sometimes of distant hills.
The ground was flat,
Not grass flat or rock flat.
or artificial car park flat, but the flat of an afternoon spent looking out of a window at a leafless winter tree, and the ground the colour of,
The light fading on a wasted day,
and the sky thrown over like an overwashed bedsheet.
and the sun invisible, light just seeming to come from every direction.
No shadows, no bright, and me not even in the middle of this.
Because there is no middle if you can't see the edges, just like there in my body.
I was definitely in my body,
I was absolutely definitely me.
wearing my clothes,
My height, my hair, my skin.
standing on that empty ground in a colourless dream version of my everyday shoes.
I stood there for a long time.
Is that it? Is that the dream?
No, I was
We were.
just doing a long time.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I stood there for a long time. Do you ever think in dreams? It's really difficult, but I thought the world's gone, and then I thought about if it was true, and then in that moment it felt true. Then really, what's been lost? I don't really feel grief. I don't really feel happiness. There's many things I'd miss, but there were many things I was glad to lose. I guess it kind of balanced out into a state of mind that kind of felt like the landscape looked.
I was sad to lose being in some part of a city, on my own, feeling not knowing, feeling unknown. But I was glad to lose the eyes of strangers on me. I was glad to lose having to think about how I was going to dress, the worry of what might be thought of me. But I was sad to lose a reason to get dressed at all. I was sad to lose some kind of touch, but I was glad to lose some other kinds of touch.
I was glad to lose crowded subway carriages and worrying whether I had to sit next to someone or not.
I was glad to get rid of unhealthy habits, like drinking buckfast.
I was sad to lose the bowling club due to social distancing, but most of all, I think it was control. I was sad to lose control. It was like the whole world was a mug that had just been dropped. You know that moment when you've just made a drink and everything's right in your life, then for some reason, for some completely stupid reason, the mug's not in your hand and your finger flashed through empty air, and for a frozen fraction of a second, the whole thing's laid out before you. There's nothing you can do but watch it spin in progress to the floor.
Well, that's the way you feel in that moment, like a bystander at an accident.
Except the accident's your life.
That's the way the dream felt.
Standing there in all that emptiness.
Except, and this is important, except this isn't real life.
In real life, the mug was dropped somewhere unknown, the other side of the world. Nature had made us a cup of tea and we'd fumbled it.
We were standing in the universe's kitchen watching everything we'd carried fall tumbling to the tiles. Who knew the universe had a tiled floor, eh?
caught in a frozen moment of not knowing, waiting to see if the rules we lived by, the structures we thought were solid, so much we'd forgotten they were there, waiting to see if they would break or bounce out of our control.
Nothing we could say to stop the fall. But in the dream, in this strange world, the falling, the feeling of it was not an action, taken or not taken, was not an accident, was not the world happening without me as I realised as I stood there. It was a choice.
In the dream, there was a feeling that I had no control, but I was in control of it. Of the feeling of not being in control, which meant I could choose. I could choose not to feel it. It was just me. No rules, no landscapes, no buildings, no rocks, no responsibilities, no work to do.
Everything waiting, everything suspended and only me there. I mean, no matter what my life outside the dream was like, everything in it was my choice. And I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to that at all. And I stood there, just waiting for something to happen.
And slowly it crept up on me. Fearful, yeah, but also kind of thrilling. Nothing was going to happen. Nothing was going to happen. Nothing was going to happen unless I made it happen.
And so I held out my hand. And that's the title. Makes sense. But I still don't like it.
Anyway, I held out my hand and absolutely nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened.
I guess I thought,
Once I realised that what happened was in my power, I'd figured it would come easy.
Like, hold out your hand and BAM! There's a what?
Bam! There's a fountain.
A fountain.
I don't know. It was the first thing I thought of.
A fountain.
Oh, okay. Bam! There was a new wave. Bam! There was a cat on a mat. Bam! There was a golden McDonald's.
I think I thought it'd just flow, like film magic, like game magic, like the power in me was point and click.
it didn't. I had to really think about it. I had to start off simple, which seemed a bit unfair. It was my dream after all, but apparently I didn't make the rules.
I collected myself. I held out my hand and started simple. And I thought, blue. It doesn't get more simple than that. Blue of sky, I thought. And I closed my eyes and I opened them. And something had almost happened. There was still fatness, still nothing, but maybe, just maybe, it was a slightly bluer nothing than before. Thing is, I could feel the power, like a spring inside me.
Both kinds of spring, you mean? The water kind and the metal kind?
Yeah, like it was gushing out, but also winding up. And the way to be in charge of both those things at once was to use them both. Think simple, think blue, let it flow out.
But also keep the tension, the direction by answering the question, what kind? So blue, but this time though, the blue of the sky, and not just any sky, all skies are blue, but the blue of the sky seen in summer, when you've been up all night, maybe you've climbed up on a roof. You're the highest point in your surroundings, and the horizon you can see knows the sun's on its way, but not for a while. No clouds or anything, no lights on in any of the houses, and just at the end of the dark, there's a blue that says, the morning's coming.
That blue, I thought, that one. I held out my hand, I stretched my fingers wide, closed my eyes.
Opened my eyes, and the blue in my head was the whole world. And the world was still simple, featureless and flat, but that hopeful, gentle blue of almost morning was laid across it and within it like it had always been there, and it felt strange.
This is all sounding a bit weird. This is all sounding like some mystical experience, but it wasn't that, wasn't it? The strange feeling of magic, of fantasy, of extra-dimensional portals, of alien worlds opening up.
The strangeness of this world.
This simple world
This simple landscape from inside me,
being within my control.
being mine to command. One decision that was mine.
One decision that was mine.
And then it was a dream.
Yeah, I know it was a dream. What happened then?
I woke up.
Same room, same room, same room, same room in the same house on the same street in the same town in the same country.
Same river thrown into the same sea. Same carpet, same curtains that don't quite close. Same splash of paint on the back of the door.
Same clothes in the same pile.
Same sun at the same angle, lighting up the same spot on the same poster.
Same sounds from outside, same voices from inside, same voices inside me.
Same day, repeating again and again, same planet crawling through the same space.
Same screen in my hand telling me the same half-fake information, the same hysterical guesswork.
The same words spilling from the same faces, the same opinions on the same subjects, the same arguments over the same action.
The same stale food chewed over by the same tired mouth.
While the same stale power grasped in the same stale hands thrummed in the background like the noise of a distant factory, throwing out constant smoke and polluting my air.
Turns out the way the dream feels, it isn't a dream. And this is what I think we're here to say, as far as I can tell. That feeling being swept up in events you can't control, the weather patterns change and the hospitals fill up, and the future you wanted seems to melt under your hands. Being swept up in all that, in your smallness, but at the same time being so very still. That's not some imaginary landscape. It's the way life feels right now.
So in a year from now, I'll be able to celebrate Christmas and my brother and my sister will both be there.
In a year from now, I'll be able to see my friend who moved to Denmark and I haven't seen in over a year.
In a year from now, I'll be able to leave the house without worrying about getting COVID.
In a year from now, I want to do something special for my granddad's 70th birthday.
I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, but sat next to my pals.
I want to go on holiday with my brothers.
And now, right now, not the day that some guy is writing these words late at night in a corner of some far city, but right now in this room or through this screen and all these rooms, that future world still feels untouchable.
We're not despairing. Please don't think that we're despairing.
We're just saying that parts of the life we want still feels like dreams, still feel lost in a landscape we're standing in, wondering what happens next.
But we remember, we're still remembering the spring.
And the spring.
The power to hold tight.
And the power to let go.
How in the dream, we knew that the world didn't just act on us.
We could act on it. There's a focus you can find inside yourselves. And then together, hold out your hand.
There's power in it.
There is.
Power in it.
Hold out.
Your hand.
Hold out your hand.
I still don't like that title.
I know, but we've come this far. And anyway, we've not just been handed it this. We can do what we like. We can make whatever this is into something of our own, carry on our own terms. Are you ready? Here goes.
Whether we're saying these words while we're breathing the same air, or we're looking at different screens.
Whether we've come miles to be together, or we're miles apart and all together.
If we can't say what we want this world to be, then we're alone, trapped in our own dreams. So
hold out your hand. This is how it starts. The trick of it is realizing we don't have to dream it.
Hold out your hand. Let it break out of the landscape through the edge of the monitor, through the distance between us. Touch doesn't have to be touched to still count as connection.
Hold out your hand. We're still in the dream, still in that landscape, even when we're awake, feeling alone, lost in it with no markers to guide us, no roads to guide us, no history to guide us. So
hold out your hand. Feel the power in it. Remind yourself this land is uncharted, is yours as much as anyone's.
put a marker in the ground. It doesn't have to be nearby. It's just somewhere you'd like to be a year from now. Something you'd like to achieve 10 years from now. Some change you'd like to see tomorrow.
Timescale doesn't always matter. The important thing is, it starts with you.
The important thing is, even in these times of isolation, even in these times of confusion, even in these times of repetition, even in these times of repetition,
Even in these times of repetition, when every day looks, smells, and tastes the same, and you forget when it is, but you know by the sunshine when it comes that tomorrow must have started.
Even in these times of repetition, there is togetherness and change, and there is a choice in what we do with it.
One decision that is mine, and a choice to share it. So we're sharing this.
Letting go of figuring out how to be productive each day, but having less need for urgency.
I want to keep social distancing.
So nice being able to enforce your own boundaries, isn't it? Being able to just give someone that lick and they'll just go away.
I want to keep sanitisers, as people really don't wash their hands.
Yes, me too.
But I want to keep the friends that I've made through Zoom.
Yes, me too.
I feel like I've needed to be productive more. Like I've had this emphasis on trying to, especially when I was unemployed, like really trying to make the most of having free time, but almost therefore not enjoying it, I guess.
I like to be busy, so in a way I'd like to lose the amount of free time I've had because I drove myself mad not having anything to do.
To be fair though, I'm loving not having to commute to work. Like I can shut my laptop and I'm just home.
I'd like to keep that everyone is keeping in touch with each other.
Keep the 6-person rule. It helps me limit my choices.
I want to keep the desire to learn new things, the skills that I've picked up, like embroidery and crafting. I want to keep doing those.
Origami.
Me too.
Yes.
How good as well was it having access to like free things like the National Theatre that I couldn't afford to go to if it wasn't online.
I want to keep some of this free time I've got now.
I wasted less money going out, so maybe I should keep that.
I want to get rid of the feeling of loneliness that I felt while I was shielding and the fear that I'm going to have to go back into it.
I'm looking forward to making a full body effort. As much as I did enjoy only having to choose a shirt and presentable from the shoulders up.
I want to keep making an effort. I feel like everybody's really trying now to make social things happen.
It kind of feels like the world's having Freshers Week at the moment. Like everyone's coming out again for the first time and everything's like new and exciting and you chat to new people. And
I think I'd like to lose the masks though, because I can't see people's smiles when I meet them.
So much you look at facial expressions, and when the mask is covering it, you don't realise how much you actually do look at people's faces when they're talking.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep the fact that I've been able to use my skills in BSL with people who are hard of hearing or deaf.
I've been having this thing where to make people know I smile, I sort of widen my eyes, but I end up with like quite a severe headache at the end of the day.
I'm trying to make up for the lack of face.
I don't want to see my face whilst having to talk to people.
Do you not like spend more time watching your own picture half the time than you do other people's? Because I do that. I get really caught up in what I look like when I laugh and stuff, and I'm like, oh, do we like it? No.
Yeah,
Like,
all the time.
Well, I want to let go of, not being able to hug people or being worried about hugging people and having to ask if they're already seeing someone, can I hug you? Is that okay?
I just want to let go of Zoom. I hate Zoom. Bye Zoom.
Yeah. I want to lose my internet provider because this connection's not great.
So
What do we do now?
Ooh.